All right, casuals, welcome back to episode 19. Happy New Year to everybody. I know I said that last time, but we are 15 days in and we have not been canceled for 2024, so I figured I needed to say that again.
19 straight weeks.
19 straight weeks of podcasting. How about that? We all are almost at the 20-week mark, almost half a year. We're going to have to do a celebration for that. We're going to have to live stream that. No, no, okay.
I think no, honestly, I thought about that. I think we should live stream us watching the games. I think it'd be fun.
Hmm.
Mm.
Not the Packers game next week.
Yeah, I hope
think
it's like
exactly
the
the Packers
FCS
game.
or like Division 3 game that none of us have a.
I
Well,
think-
even then.
I think we should give Kyle 2 40 ounces and just put a camera on.
I feel like we need to, when we get to that point and we're live streaming, I feel like we need to go to a game none of us have stake in, and then like just do house divided. Like if it's Fresno State versus, I don't know, Fresno State versus Boston College, like split it right down the middle. Like, hey, Nick, BB, you guys are Fresno State, Kyle, Grayson, Boston College, and then see how that works out.
We should do it for a UFC fight instead.
Yeah, I mean, hell, all we had to do was record Krzyzewska and Pereira that one night.
Yeah.
So,
I'll do it for.
I was thinking WNBA. I mean, we could put up some numbers with that.
The Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
oh my God. I think that would be pretty funny if we
Yeah,
actually
broadcast of
did.
the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I think that would actually be pretty good.
Well, I'll put a mirror behind me and have the camera so you can have the reflection.
Yeah. You get a pop from me when CM Punk came out. I'm not gonna lie. All right, well, let us get into it. So, we're gonna start off this week with the NFL, and we're gonna just go over some news that's come up out here in the past. I guess in the last week, since the regular season has ended, and some teams did not make the playoffs, so they're going ahead and moving on to next year. One of the big things this past week was Arthur Smith getting fired from Atlanta. Baby, do you have any comments on that?
He should be locked up as a terrorist.
Your camera keeps going out of focus. That's hilarious. Every once in a while, your camera, like while you're talking, your camera just goes out of
It's
focus.
just when you get close.
Yes.
Yep.
It's like
the bill of your hat goes down and it recognizes your entire body as the background.
Gotta hide my identity.
Yeah, it looks like when you're FaceTiming someone, but you have poor service, and so it goes blurry for a second. Yeah. So, but yeah, Arthur Smith was obviously let go, and now there is speculation that another coach that parted ways with his team, one of the arguably greatest coaches in NFL history, Bill Belichick. There is rumors that he could potentially be going to Atlanta. Apparently, he went with Arthur Blank down to the Virgin Islands on his boat or his yacht. So, I know maybe you said something about it in a group message. I think it was yesterday or day before, or maybe today actually. I think I'm going to put it in there. But what do you think about what do you think that impact would have on Atlanta?
Zero impact. Because he wants to work with veteran quarterbacks, and I think we just need to blow it up. I want to do what Blake said: just get a young rookie coach who may or may not know what he's doing with a rookie QB, and just have fun with it. It's all about having fun at the end of the day, not winning, right?
Yeah. Well, do you? Well, so would you suggest?
Okay, I would not want Bill Belichick in the Falcons.
Well, no. What I was going to go off what you said. Like, would you prefer like one of the like a D'Amico Ryans, maybe like a younger guy that was a player probably like 5 years ago, and get someone like that in there, or what?
Yeah.
Or would you rather have that, or would you rather have someone like a Kellen Moore who's been a coach for 5 or 6 years come and take over take the reins?
Really, I just want somebody that's a QB oriented coach, kind of like
Kellen Moore.
Yeah. But I don't think Kellen Moore is going to be interested in doing it.
Nah, I think you're right.
like like how they usually goes where if your offensive coach gets fired, they always hire the defensive coordinator somewhere.
Mhm.
Vice versa, just for whatever reason. I don't know why they do that. I don't think they need to hire a defensive coach as a head coach. I think they need to go try again with the offensive minded head coach because there's too much talent on the offensive side of the ball. Not
Boy, I got a defensive coordinator that thinks like an offensive coordinator that might be perfect for that.
pass.
Oh,
Well, the problem with Belichick going is, I mean, Desmond would be gone.
Yeah,
like, for
He
sure.
needs to be gone.
Because, I mean, Belichick likes
He's gonna go
his
Quanah Mobe.
quarterbacks white, and it just wouldn't work out. But my only rebuttal against defensive-minded coaches is they're okay when they're like, not prideful, where they're completely okay with letting an offensive coordinator like a Kellen Moore come in and basically it's the offense is completely yours. I have no touch and say so in it. It's yours. You do what you want with it. So like I think that would be fine, but at the same time, like Belichick was a special scenario where with him being the GM as well and having so much impact in the draft was hurting the offense. Because again, I mean, like, Demario Douglas was their best receiver, but Demario Douglas is in the late 20s when ranked at wide receiver. Like there are wide receiver twos better than their wide receiver one.
like T. Higgins.
But our following Falcons Twitter, I've been made aware that the whole organization, the Falcons, is from the top floor to the bottom. Apparently, they have Arthur Smith, right?
Yep.
Or Arthur Blank, sorry.
They used to have Arthur Smith.
Yeah, used to have the Arthur Blank's the owner, and then they have this like VP of like football, whatever, president of football operations. Then they have the general manager, who doesn't really do anything because he has to run by all his decisions have to be run by the VP of football, and it's just like all messed up. Like whenever they fired Arthur Smith, who went at the press conference? GM. It was this other dude.
Interesting.
And it's just like I wasn't aware of this. I didn't know who this dude was, but from the climate in the room is that it was Arthur Smith's problem, but there's a lot of more deep lying issues in that franchise than just a coach.
Yeah. Basically, sum up what you just said. It does seem like there's a lot of disorganization amongst the organization.
Right. And then there was one thing that if Bill Belichick's probably going with the GM wherever he goes, you would think, right?
Hypothetically.
And guess he's probably not going to have a GM. So that's just
heard a lot of speculation of him going to the Cowboys now too.
I would like to see him go to the Cowboys because I think he would do better at the Cowboys because he don't have to make any.
To be fair though, I think
I
think Mike McCarthy and Mike Tomlin are in the same boat. I think both of them are in that no man's, they can get them to the playoffs, but never going further. Now, I think for different reasons because, obviously we talked about it last week is Mike Tomlin just stays in purgatory with the draft and with acquiring players because they're always decent. But the Cowboys are just cursed. It doesn't matter how much talent they get. I mean, you see this year, on paper, they look like a team that should have made it to the Super Bowl or at least the conference championship, but again, gets waxed by the Packers. And so,
I just want to add on to that Dan Quinn probably found out what zone defense was like last Saturday and decided to run it on them.
And another thing too, Stephon Gilmore was getting cooked. And he's been arguably one of the few underrated corners this year. I mean, he's been like solid, but I don't know what it was, but he could not keep up. He looked slow and he just could not any break he was getting bit on. I mean, it was bad. It was bad.
Well, and staying on the topic of coaches right here, and I know somebody mentioned Mike Tomlin earlier. It came out a report the other day that looky here that Mike Tomlin after the playoffs, which seems like after the playoffs for the Steelers is going to be here in about 4 minutes and 2 seconds. That he is going to take some time and reflect and see if he's going to come back. So I'm telling, you can watch. You can probably watch 4 episodes of this podcast of seeing me saying that he needs to go on his merry way and go out on his horse in terms of the Steelers. So I think there's other opportunities for him elsewhere that will be beneficial to both parties. And then on top of not only the Steelers, but we talked about Belichick and the Patriots now having a position open. It seems like that position is going to be filled by Mike Vrabel, who was let go from the Titans. And again, you might think that's the same argument as Mike Tomlin, that Vrabel. I don't think Vrabel's a bad coach. I think the Titans organization is just, in peril right now. Like, they don't really know what's going on. And so it's just like literally scorched earth, burn everything down. Let's start from the beginning. What the Texans did. Look at the Texans. I think I think there's going to be at least 3 teams this year that have fired their coaches so far that are going to look at what the Texans did and say, all right, let's not just take a page out of their textbook. Let's take the whole damn library and do what they did.
Well, you're seeing a lot of success with those teams because, again, like, they're clearing up so much cap space with these washed up superstars. In my opinion, Derrick Henry, for example, great running back, but he's getting up there in age. He might have just turned 30. He might be 29. He's up there though, late 20s, if not 30. But he was still a 1,000-yard rusher. But the amount on his contract and the amount that he'll be asking is just like, there's no reason to keep him. And so the amount that they were paying him, and with DeAndre Hopkins, people like that, though, Michael Thomas, those are players. Hey, Tucker had a $72 million contract and didn't do shit. So, but like, players like that for organizations are killers because, when they get up there in age and with those contracts, they're just their team.
It is dead money.
Yes, it truly is dead money.
For the Falcons at the end of their win period, they gave Matt Ryan too much money, and then we were stuck with him.
Yeah. Sometimes you get lucky with it. Like Green Bay's getting that shit end of the stick with Rodgers still. They're still paying on that, but next year they'll be having so much room with the cap space without having to pay him anymore. So,
and I'll tell you too, and this is I promise you, it's not a knock to the Packers because I like the Packers, but in 3 years, the Packers will be the team that everybody's picking from, because if all of these receivers, all of these tight ends, quarterbacks, running backs are still doing well, teams are going to pick them because they're not going to be able to afford to pay. That's the only downside, the long game, to having the youngest, receiving core, youngest team in general, but receiving core, they're all first year or second years. They're nobody past that. And so all these, Jaden Reed, Dobbs, Christian Watson, all those players, if they continue to keep up this, this play, they're going to want their money, and they're not going to be able to pay them all that. So, that's the only downside to that. But at the same time, as of right this second, Packers and the Texans, with their age and with, the rookie contract still, or their second contract, they're looking good because they're paying less and getting more production.
Yeah. Well, and another team, a couple other teams that we have to look at real quick is, number one, you have the Panthers. Like, what are they going to do? What are the Panthers going to do? Ron Rivera is, I don't know if that's been announced yet, but they're thinking about moving on from Ron Rivera.
No, they already they've
announced.
They're
so
having,
that's
interviews.
Yeah. Obviously, the Chargers are going to have to figure out their situation with whoever they're going to hire, which we're going to talk about someone later on that I have heard that would be potentially taking the reins there.
They just had an interview today.
So, but we'll get to that later. And then finally, are the Raiders going to keep Antonio Pierce?
That's what I've seen. That's what is preferred at the organization, and that's what they're talking about. Because I was curious too, because they did have another interview that wasn't Antonio Pierce, and I saw that and I was like, my God, like all the players love Antonio Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
The fans love Antonio Pierce. Like they would be stupid, and they found success with him. And to think they were finding success with him with Aiden O'Connell, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they need to keep him.
Yeah. Well, and then obviously too, another coach that retired this year, Pete Carroll in Seattle. Like that was big too. I mean, I know all of us around, our age range, maybe a little bit older, it's like when you think of these guys like Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, somebody that we'll talk about later, Nick Saban, like those three coaches have been staples of football at every single level for the past damn near 25 years plus. And now all three of them, Belichick's still not out yet, but two of those three are out. One of the three not being out, but out from the team he was with for God knows how long. So we're literally entering an new era of football in general. And, going back to Mike Tomlin, I mean, think about Mike Tomlin, a place like Seattle. Like, I feel like that would be a really good fit, or even somewhere like the Chargers. I think that would be a good fit. But again, like I said, we'll talk about the Chargers later. But
it's going to be so weird if Belichick does take another job. My opinion is he should retire, but seeing him in like a sleeveless hoodie with like a Falcons logo on it is going to be so weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's like 15 wins away from the all-time record, most wins. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna do that. And once he does that, he's gonna be
It's going to take him 3 years to get it.
I was about to say it's going to take him eight years of the Falcons.
But yeah, but I think that's why I think he's gonna go to the Cowboys and get his like 15-0 season, and then lose first round, second round.
And I know I've talked a lot about these scenarios, but my last thing is the best thing that Belichick can do, though, is one of his underrated, things that he's been able to do is utilizing running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be, hypothetically, if he did go to the Falcons, Bijan would thrive. But
yeah, well, moving on from our coaching speculations, we're going to get into the wild card results now. And the first thing I want to say, since they're fresh on our minds talking about the Cowboys, is boy, howdy, did I call it. Did I call it? They got hope up. They went on a 3-game skid. They went to the playoffs making their fans think they were hot. And what did they do? They shit the bed in the division.
What year is this?
Yeah, who knows? It's the
2000,
same.
2001, 2002, 2003, and so on.
And so on. It is, I mean, like I wasn't able to watch the game because I think I was on my flight yesterday back from Phoenix. But like, I mean, I called it. And I mean, the Packers played. I mean, Kyle, you can probably attest to this better than anybody else. They probably played their best game of the season right there. And they got hot at a good time.
Yep. Jordan Love was going to have a perfect passer rating, but they put him in garbage time and tied in, just dropped the ball on him. But other than that, I mean, best game of his career.
Yeah. Have a young career. Yeah. Other games, first game of the playoffs, Texans and Browns. I was watching that game at the hotel, and they went into the halftime 17-14. And I was like, man, this is going to be a good game. Like playoff Joe Flacco, he's about to like show out. And then he didn't. 2 pick sixes, and the Texans just ran away with it. I mean, they had once the Texans got momentum, like everybody knows the saying, like step on their throats. Well, they ran them over with a steamroller and just kept going and backed up.
Stroud boys, baby.
So, the next game yesterday was the Chiefs and Dolphins, but I think I can say this with confidence that everybody in here knew that the Chiefs were going to win after it was announced that it was going to be like almost like a record cold game in Kansas City. I think, yeah, it was. I think everybody knew, and there was just like no hesitation. Like I know we didn't really do predictions last week, but I feel like everybody would have said the Chiefs just because of that. And now the Dolphins hold the longest playoff win drought record. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was one of those games. I mean, realistically, the game that's being played right now, Pittsburgh and Buffalo, you would expect this game to be more like that game, being a 26-7 game, a low scoring game. But yeah, like I said, it's the Chiefs. I mean, their defense is solid this year. As much as they've struggled on offense, they still find a way to win.
Well, a big part of this is Rashee Rice.
Yes.
I mean, that I feel like, it's crazy to say that a playoff game is a breakout game, but they're finding identity in the passing game with him. He's a rookie and broke DK's record for most passing yard or receiving yards in a playoff game. That, and besides the one play that kind of broke, L'Jarius Sneed locked up Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen the video of him on the line,
jamming
him. But I mean, like they had their game plan out, and again, I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I am an Andy Reid fan, and Andy Reid is quietly becoming Belichick. He is identifying what the team does best and taking it away from them. That was Belichick's thing, and Andy Reid is, again, he's got a great playbook with the offense, but getting his team ready, he's able to take away what the other team does best, and that was accurately seen against the Dolphins, even though it was cold. But Tyreek Hill, who led the league in receiving yards, got outplayed by Rashee Rice, a rookie. And you can't blame the cold because Tyreek's been at the Chiefs before playing in these games.
Well, and to go back to Rashee Rice too, he led the team in targets and receptions. So he was targeted more than Mahomes' favorite target, Travis Kelce, and he also had 59 more yards than Travis Kelce. I mean, Rashee Rice, I picked him up in fantasy, and he did great things for me in fantasy. And that's the one thing that the Chiefs have kind of needed. What is a receiver? Because, I mean, we saw that Kadarius Toney, the Mobile Leprechaun, wasn't going to do anything. MVS is like, I think a kid in a wheelchair could run better routes than he could. And then, like, there's been realistically, Mecole Hardman has been a non-factor basically his whole time in
His
Kansas
whole thing
City.
is when he's going for a deep route, he's looking for a pass interference, not a catch.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's trying to play. He plays the system and not the game.
Yeah.
Well, and then we get to, I guess, the best game so far of this year between the Lions and the Rams. And, the NFL script writers couldn't have wrote this any better, with Matthew Stafford, the former Golden Child, coming back to Detroit and trying to get a win against his old team.
He finally got Detroit a win.
Finally got this. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it was a great game. Like, I mean, 23-24, literally coming down to the last 3 minutes with Amon-Ra St. Brown securing the victory with the first down pass. Like, it was a great game. And I'm happy for Detroit. Like, I love Dan Campbell, and I love how his gutsy play call, and he's like, they deserved it. Like, they deserved a win. I'm happy for Detroit.
And also, I wish Caleb was here because what the last play of the game was for Rams? A no call PI. That's called poetic right there.
It is. I mean, it was, like I said, it was a good game. Love to see Detroit get a win. As I said, they deserved it. Just some stats from the game. I mean, Matt Stafford still had 367 yards passing. Puka Nacua had 181 receiving yards.
And he got probably 2 concussions too.
I was about to say. Well, they thought Matt Stafford had one as well.
They knew he had
his
one.
eyes was the back of his head.
I saw
Undertaker.
I saw a tweet earlier. It was like somebody asking Puka Nacua where he was. He's like, "Do you know where you are?" And the response was, "Whopper, whopper, whopper, whopper." they're like, he's good. Send him back in.
Higbee's ACL is still at the stadium, so
yeah.
it's still
No,
on the
no,
field.
it thumped against my window last night. So
The memes of saying, "Oh, Tyler Higbee ACL is out," and it's the picture of him standing on his head. God, yeah,
well,
it's questionable on if it's dirty or not. I mean, he went low, but at the same time, you're a $170 safety hitting a tight end. Like if you hit him high, he's gonna break that tackle.
yeah.
So I think it's an unfortunate circumstance of the game.
Well, that's like earlier. I was watching a play and Fryermuth caught like a little drag route, and the safety tried to tackle him, and like the Higbee didn't even duck his shoulder; he just ran into him, and the guy rolled off. One big factor though about that game, specifically on the Rams side, is Cooper Kupp only went 5 receptions for 27 yards, and he had 9 targets. So Cooper Kupp did not perform as Cooper Kupp. One would expect Cooper Kupp to perform.
Kyle has had the most atrocious takes this year, but I give credit where it's due. Kyle called it when we were talking about Puka versus Cooper Kupp, and he said it's going to limit Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp's going to fall off. So, congrats, Kyle. You get credit.
No, don't give him the credit.
No, I deserve that credit. I was viciously attacked in our group chat after
by your own blood.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a little bit on the Detroit side. Jared Goff had an efficient game. I mean, he went 22 for 27 and 277 yards passing.
Touchdown though.
Didn't get Amon-Ra a touchdown, but Amon-Ra St. Brown did go 7 of 9 with 110 yards. So
many times I was like, go. They get tackled again. I'm like, this is never going to happen.
Yes. So they, if you look at, I mean, realistically, if you look at it, I mean, LA had better offensive statistics than the Lions did. The Lions just mustered up a win.
Well,
Ben,
Chris
don't
Collins,
break.
What?
So bend, but don't break defense.
Well, like you put in what, and I hate Chris Collinsworth, but he said it right, is both teams had 3 possessions in the red zone. The Lions scored touchdowns on 3 of those, and the Rams scored field goals on 3 of those. And that was the difference.
Yeah. Well, and this just happened. I mean, for everyone at home, we are recording on Monday. The Pittsburgh and Buffalo game just ended, obviously, but with Buffalo winning, so there is your AFC matchup now. Who is it? It's going to be
it'll be
Buffalo and Kansas
at
City.
The Bills.
Yeah, Kansas City at the Bills, and then you have the Ravens and the Texans. So I think 1 through 4. You got 1 through 4 there.
I'm gonna say it right now. Texans are beating the Ravens. I have no trust in Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. He has not proven himself multiple years. He's just like Dak Prescott in the playoffs. Put it down.
Hammer Ravens money line now.
Well,
I know I just gave him credit.
I told you, Nick.
But am I wrong though? Am I wrong though? Has Lamar Jackson proven himself in the playoffs?
He's gotten
since he started.
He's been able to get out of conference play.
AFC Championship game a couple years ago, didn't
he? Yeah. No, I'm not saying he hasn't made it to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying he's been able to get it out of the divisional championship. He's been able to make the conference. So
I trust him 0%. And Grayson, as you've been saying all season, the Ravens have not been playing the best ball.
Dirty games. Games. So here's my take on the potential, or on the now Ravens and Texans matchup. I think this year Lamar Jackson is not the focus. even though he is an MVP candidate and he is a great player, it's the water is a little muddied in terms of what they're good at. They have a stellar defense. They actually have made some decent moves at their receiver position. Have a couple good have a good rookie in Zay Flowers. Isaiah Likely has come out of the woodwork since Mark Andrews is hurt. I feel like the running back core is fine. So I don't know. It's really going to be dependent. I think that Houston is going to Houston can't play the long game with them. Houston can't go out and say, like, we're going to try to run the ball and we're going to try to like have long sustaining drive. Like, they have to have the highlight plays, I think, to beat Baltimore. And I'm not saying that Houston, like, they're just gonna like it's on. I'm not saying it's on Houston. I think they can do that. It's going to be if Baltimore allows them to have that, because Baltimore's defense is incredible. So between that, and I'll be honest with y'all, like, just saying it right now, I mean, Chiefs are going to be in the AFC Championship game now. I don't think they're beating Buffalo. To be honest with you, all right? I don't think Buffalo is beating them.
This is Patrick Mahomes' first away playoff game. I'm interested to see. Now, to be fair, I don't think Patrick Mahomes plays any different away, but
we just haven't seen it.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about regular season.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it can definitely impact. The weather won't be an issue. They both face, the same weather. But Josh Allen definitely does play better at home. That'll be the big factor. If he throws an interception or two and Rashee Rice has another game like he did where Travis Kelce doesn't have to be the number one, yeah, I agree with you. But if they're able to limit that, then that's where it can become tricky.
So
I think
go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
I think the biggest factor is the 2 days of rest. The Buffalo game got moved to tonight, and Chiefs having an extra 2 days of rest, it's going to play a huge factor.
See, I think it's less of that and more of I would say the precedent. So I would say that Kansas City, even though their offense has been lackluster this year, they have been more consistent team. So I don't think they're going to fluctuate as much. I think Buffalo just got a really, really bad precedent of playoff football for this year by playing the Steelers. Because again, like we were talking about earlier, the Steelers did not look like they wanted to tackle. Josh Allen went untouched on a 50-yard touchdown run and was barely touched by the free safety.
Longest of his career.
Some of the receivers were not being touched. It's like they were trying to arm tackle the entire time out of Pittsburgh. So I think they just got a really bad precedent. Not saying that the Chiefs got a better precedent playing the Dolphins, but I think that Kansas City is the more consistent team. And realistically, I think it's going to factor on the weather too, because I think if they put Buffalo in a position where they have to throw more, I think that's where Josh Allen is going to have more mistakes, and he's going to throw an interception or two. And I feel like that Kansas City would be able to capitalize off of that. So, and then on the NFC side, let's see, nothing is set in stone yet, obviously, because we're waiting on the Philadelphia Eagles versus my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But looking at it right now,
Green Bay does play at the 49ers, though. That is solidified.
Because they are the 7.
Yeah.
They are the 7, yeah.
So they're playing at the 49ers.
Yeah, so Green Bay in San Francisco, and then it's going to be the Lions versus either the Eagles and the Buccaneers.
Lions at home, too, since Cowboys lost.
Yes. Yep. So two things. Number one, Kyle, Green Bay had a good run. And the number two, and I'll let you get in your Green Bay spiel. I've told Nick this, and I think I said it last week. I think Tampa Bay is going to beat Philadelphia. I really do, because the Eagles are going the wrong way. Lost 5 out of the last 6. AJ Brown is out with a knee injury, but he is not reporting to practice. Devontae Smith is also injured. And as we saw from Nick's screensaver last week, Jalen Hurts' finger was running a chair route. So the finger's not supposed to bend in the middle and then come back up. So I really think that Tampa Bay, if they're not the favorite in this game, should be. And I may be completely wrong. And they are playing in Tampa, so that also helps since they were divisional winners. But I really think that, Tampa Bay is going to get a safe win. I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular. It's not going to be a Texans versus Browns, but I think it's like 24-14 or something like that. They get a safe win.
I don't know. The Giants were up 24-0 before they took out their starters. So
True.
I mean, that's back when Jalen and everybody was playing, AJ Brown included.
Mm-hmm.
But how you said the Packers, I'll go opposite, and no matter who wins, Tampa Bay or Philly, they had a good run because
Yes.
I don't think Lions. Dan Campbell is quickly.
Damn Campbell.
Yeah,
Campbell.
Damn Campbell is quickly becoming one of my favorite coaches. I mean,
Yes.
he already was when, I'd hear his speeches and, it's crazy. I saw a thing today, talking about his speeches to the players at training camp and stuff. And it's like, trust me, put your faith in me. Like, it's not going to be pretty the first year, but just give it time, and now you're really truly seeing he's reaping what he's sowing. And so now with the grit that they play, and now that they've actually seen a playoff win, I think it's going to be hard to stop them at home. And I already talked about this last week about how the Lions were my favorite. And it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I think Tampa Bay has a good shot at beating Philly. Philly, I mean, every factor is going against them right now. And again, it's just like March Madness, in my opinion, is you want to get hot at the right times and you don't want to get cold right there at the end. And the Eagles, they're like one of the blue bloods right now, but they've gone cold. And so they could have a first weekend exit. And I agree with you. I think that very well could happen.
Yeah.
Packers are not beating the 49ers at home. That I get that Jordan Love had a good game, but again, the Cowboys and the 49ers, two different stories. Completely two different stories.
Yeah. Kyle, your response.
I'll start Detroit, like I said in the beginning of the season, going to make it to the NFC Championship. Great prediction by me. Going to stay true with it. Packers, listen, it's a 10-point spread right now for San Francisco, which to me is insane. If Packers stay hot.
Stay hard.
All I'm saying, Packers win by 10. Yep.
I should have never said a word about your Cooper Kupp.
I didn't know we're still doing Kyle's auto pocket pick of the week.
If the Packers stay hard, they're going to edge out the 49ers.
But Packers are coming in hot as hell. Hot, man. Offense is looking great. Jones has added a whole.
God.
Oh no!
You broke himself.
Just for future reference, Kyle, when you go back and listen to this, you're supposed to get 2 shots right before we start throwing heat checks.
Yeah.
Yeah. You make 2, then you start doing heat checks.
Green Bay by 10. That's the
we
final.
heard that. We heard
that.
that. Yeah.
Offense is clicking, bro. That's all I can say. 49ers coming off.
What is Joe Barry going to do against Ayuk, Debo, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and Brock Purdy, and Juwan Jennings, and Juszczyk?
I ain't worried about Joe Barry, all right? It's going to be a shootout, and Packers going to win the shootout.
So, I think the Packers will be able to score a little bit.
42-10.
They're not. Yeah, I mean, Who? Okay, Jair Alexander, perfect. If he's say he's locking up Ayuk, perfect. Well, you got Debo, you got all these other options. Jair, the thing was when he locked up CD, perfect. You know, there's the passing game besides Jake Ferguson. But when Brock Purdy, again, game manager of the year, is able to have truly, in my opinion, two number one receivers plus, you know, should be league MVP running back plus a top three tight end in George Kittle. Because again, we've seen time in and time out when, if Debo's having a bad game or Ayuk's having a bad game, that's when George Kittle's like, hey, bitches, I'm still here. And then bam, goes off for 200 yards. I'm just saying, don't get me wrong. I think Jordan Love will have a good game, but they're not going to be able to stop this offense. And, again, with plus Jordan Love's going to make a mistake by, you got Charvarius Ward, you've got Fred Warner, you've got the atrocious, their D line. There's so many aspects. I'm going to have a stroke.
Well, and another thing is too, you mentioned Jair Alexander. Dude's got the IQ of a traffic cone, but he has got the football IQ of a Mensa member. Like, I'll make a wrestling reference here, and I'm sure Kyle will get this. Do you remember Festus?
Yes.
Ding ding ding.
Yeah. Yeah. So for everybody that does not watch the WWE in 2008, there was a tag team with a guy named Festus. That was his name. And he would walk to the ring and his tongue would be out. Like, they made him act like he was special needs, like legitimately special needs. But the bell would ring and then he would get very aggressive. Eyes would get wide. And then he would basically choke slam somebody to hell. So that is Jair Alexander at the cornerback position.
And this on a side note, CM Punk was a genius because that's Luke Gallows. Luke Gallows is Straight Edge Society. He told everybody that is Festus, but I cured him of his drug addiction. Now he's straight edge. And that was the funniest shit ever.
Long-term storytelling there.
Well, yeah, 5 years in the making.
Yeah. Oh, but all right. Well, I guess we will. Let's go ahead and move on into college football. So we obviously had the national championship game this past week. Michigan pretty much dominated the game. I mean, that was not what I predicted. And three of us on here, I think, predicted Washington to win. But I mean, again, the consistency of Michigan just ran away with it. Blake Corum had a decent game, but Donovan Edwards had a better game. JJ McCarthy completed 10 passes. So, I mean, consistent for him. And their defense, just shut Penix down. He had a near 180 performance than he did the week before. So what do you guys have anything to add on top of that as well?
I take back everything that I said about penis. He's lost the X. It's back to penis. That was, again, good quarterbacks can be able to perform at a high level against a good defense. Look at Joe Burrow back when he played Alabama and Tua.
And Georgia, when he played Georgia.
Or, yeah, you can insert any team with Joe Burrow, but I was just referring to that team, that the Alabama versus LSU game. Like, both were great defenses. I mean, LSU had Derek Stingley and, Alabama had all their players. But both quarterbacks were able to perform. And then you saw Penis. I mean, it was bad. He was rattled. It wasn't just good coverage at times. It was overthrows. It was underthrows. It was, off to the side. He was rattled.
Yeah.
That's very disappointing to see that, again, the supposedly best game of the year with the national championship.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to say this too, because again, I like I said 3-4 episodes ago, I absolutely hate hypotheticals, but I will say I would have loved to see a Michigan-Georgia national championship game because I think that I think, and because the thing is, here's the thing, is that Michigan was consistent. I don't think it would have been anything like, I don't think there would have been nerves on either side, to be quite honest with you. That's what I'm saying. I think it would have been, what was the game we said earlier this year that we just said that was like one of the best games we had seen? Was it Michigan, Ohio State?
I thought it was Washington,
No,
Oregon.
it was Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Ohio State, Notre Dame. That's what it was. One of the best games, just a clean game of good football. That is kind of what I would have expected that like a Michigan Georgia game to be. So I don't know. I hate we're kind of gypped out of a game, but still, I mean, who knows? Michigan are arguably the best team this year. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, if they weren't the best, obviously they are the best. They won the national championship, but just on paper, and performance-wise, they were the best, one of the best teams in the nation. So, congrats to them. But then, of course, in true Bama fashion, they had to do something to one-up every other team. And Nick Saban, the fearless leader of Alabama, called it quits. He is retired. He is moving on into another role with Bama, but he is not coaching. So he's going to move into more of an advisor role. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this before we get into the analysis of it and his replacement. This was Bama fans' faults.
Yes.
They caused this when they were telling him to retire all throughout the year because he didn't have his edge anymore. Well, he listened to you, stupid. You know who you are. Sitting there on Twitter saying that Saban needs to retire because he doesn't have his edge and that they lost to Texas and that he doesn't know how to make the decisions anymore. It is on you, you idiot, and you know who you are.
What region of Alabama does he live in?
North Alabama, I think Huntsville, Florence area.
Where are you talking about? Nick Saban?
No, the guy that I'm talking about.
The guy that cooked Nick Saban so bad he had to retire.
Yeah.
So. But so before we get into Labor replacing him, let's talk about Saban's retirement and what that does. I mean, what that looks like for Bama. Obviously, we've seen some stuff. But, I mean, what's your guys' take on that?
Four losses next year, minimum 4.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
And I'm not even going to say Wisconsin. I know y'all want me to, but I'm not going to.
You'll say that week 1 next year.
Yeah, week 1. I'm saving it to be toxic, but at the moment, Georgia first week, that's an L.
That's like week 4.
Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah.
Yep. LSU, that's an L.
Hey, Kyle, you're kind of stealing my thunder here, bud.
Oh, sorry. You want to take the last 2 that are going to be an L?
The last 2. Let's hear. Do you want to start from the whole thing? Because I had that at the bottom of my rant.
Yeah, sure.
All right. It's time for BB's Adderall binge of the week. So I think it's safe to say that I was the most plugged into this thing because it's the most interesting thing to happen to Alabama football since 2007. I don't know exactly who was their first choice.
It had to be Dan Lanning.
It had to be Dan Lanning.
Dan Lanning.
But also, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't send, Dabo, Kirby, Sarkisian, the Grayson come back from the battery at 2 a.m. You up text, right? So you have to be like, hey, it's me, Greg Byrne. Hey, what are you doing this weekend? And then they just hang up the phone on you, right? You have to do that. You're doing a disservice to your job. I think there's really only 2 candidates they actually pursued. It was Dan Lanning and then the coach they got. I don't think Mike Norvell was ever a serious candidate for the job.
I think Mike Norvell just told the team that he had contacted for a contract.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure. There's things on Twitter saying that's what Dan Lanning did too, but I know for a fact.
No, they wanted
Greg
Dan
Byrne
Lanning.
said that
The fans wanted Dan Lanning.
Yeah.
Well, the fans wanted Dan Lanning until he turned it down, and then they said, "Oh, we didn't want that guy anyways."
Yeah. Well, that's what they do with everybody.
Yeah.
But Greg
Same
Byrne
with players.
said that he immediately got on the plane with the Washington, I think he made a little detour in Eugene, then to Washington. Uh, I think honestly, I think it's a decent enough hire because
I agree.
I mean,
Oh,
like,
I can't wait for mine because I'm going in on DeBoer.
really. I mean, like
Yeah.
people that say it's like Husky Harson, I think it's a bit dramatic considering he just played for a
I
national
agree.
championship. And I'm not saying he's going to be the next Nick Saban, but he ain't Brian Harson.
I agree.
Uh,
100%.
I mean, he's never like I feel like he's done more or less, and now he's about to have more than he had at Washington, at least from the fake and positive
Well,
ratings side. You know what I mean? Well, barring any transfers out in the next 4 days, whatever's left.
Yeah.
But I think Bama fans are expecting the 9-3 Timothy season is the reverse side of the Husky Harson. Like that's just, I mean, it could happen, but very unlikely. Uh, like Al said, I think 8-4 is like their solid baseline. It's like if he goes 8-4 and has like a top, call it what 15, 20 recruiting class, I think that's a solid base for Alabama, considering that they just lost the greatest fish of all time. Anything over 8-4 is A plus plus. That means they've won most of their games that are toss ups. And on the reverse side of that, if this time next year, now Alabama had a 5-7 season, which is not at all out there in a possibility. Then it's dire. There's going to be half the population's going to decrease. Looking
That's
at
especially in Dothan, Alabama.
Yeah, especially in Dothan, Circle City, USA.
Yeah, all those Waffle House managers.
The reason why I say 5-7, looking at next year's schedule, your probable wins are Western Kentucky, call that a win, should be win. USF at home should be win. At Vanderbilt should be win. The only one that I might move into a toss-up game is South Carolina, but I feel like that's being too dramatic about the players leaving.
Do you hear that, Kyle?
I don't know. I was about to say, well, what's your take on Beamer ball?
But okay, but I have for this purpose, I have South Carolina as a probable win, and then Mercer. Those are 5 wins that I think are pretty much you can lean on, right? And then you have your probable losses at home against Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
in Knoxville, in Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
at LSU. Those are 3.
Mhm.
Which will
probable.
100% be a night game.
Yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
95.55% chance it's probably not going to go down his way. So then, right there, you're 5-3 with 4. I call toss-up games. All right, at Wisconsin, because I don't know Wisconsin. I've rarely watched any Wisconsin football.
That's going to be a night game in Madison. That's a hard one.
But either way, at Wisconsin, Missouri at home.
Madison will be the biggest city in Wisconsin that night.
I think, 200 people.
250,000, yeah, probably.
But
Be the size of Mobile.
okay, so at Wisconsin, I have a toss-up game in Missouri being at home, considering they just lost their defense coordinator to the LSU. At Oklahoma, because
That's going to be tough.
That's a hard one.
Well, we think about it. Oklahoma lost their starting quarterback, right?
Yeah, but they just got the transfer in.
Yeah.
They get transferred.
And they have a stout defense, man. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't look too much into it, so I was just going off of brand name.
It is a toss-up game for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one is Auburn, because no matter what, it could be me, Kyle, and Nick Noah playing for Auburn versus the 85 Bears Alabama team, and it's probably going to be a one-possession game, no matter what.
That's a fair assessment.
So I think he needs to win for a solid season is to win 3 of those 4 games. And a fucking code DEFCON 1 is if he loses every single one of them.
5-7, like there's going to be a state of emergency in the state of Alabama.
Dude, I would say the same for 7-5.
I don't disagree with that.
You got to think. Besides his first year, Nick Saban every single year has been a 10-win season. They have at the very, very, very bottom least worst season ever under Nick Saban, besides his first year, was a New Year's Six or a Sugar Bowl. And when that's the standard, and you got to think too that a lot of these Alabama fans that are younger, that are our age, that are 26 and younger, Nick Saban's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
All
my
they
true-
know is, again, 10-win seasons. Because again, unless you're a 3-year-old that remembers, before Nick Saban, like you knew
School
Nick
days.
Saban, that's it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's true. I'll just wait until we get into DeBoer's job, because again, I have some very choice opinions on
Well-
what he has done since he's been hired.
Well,
Well,
go
all I
ahead,
can
go ahead, Kyle.
say, all I can say is the amount of Georgia
Well,
fans.
Biggie.
The
Yeah,
amount
sorry.
of Georgia fans in the next 3 years are going to double.
Well, and I think the reason why that the 7-5 and like although it's gonna be bad is because I think you're about to see a drastic like just way of Alabama football. Like I don't,
Oh, yeah.
it's no longer going to be all about the defense. I mean, I'm sure it'll be there, but it's going to be more offensive minded, kind of like you see at Texas, Ole Miss, where defense is kind of like just bend but don't break, like just
Yep.
stop them twice.
Same thing can be said about Auburn too. But so are BB, like, did you get your rant out of the way?
Yeah. I guess the only thing I would add is I do like the fact that if I was an Alabama, well, from an Alabama fan's point of view, I would like the fact that he brought over his receivers coach and offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Now, what he does, and the last thing, stay the fuck away from Kane Womack.
Yes. Stay.
Right.
You're not taking Kane Womack, not as a
Over
defense
my
coordinator.
dead fucking body. You taking my ball coach?
Like we want to talk about mass suicides in the state of Alabama. There would be one in Leeds that day. But I'm gonna say this, and we'll get into DeBoer. The SEC West is going to be the wild, wild west this year. There's not going to be one dominant team.
There's no divisions anymore.
Yeah, there's no more division.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's going to be the best two teams. Well,
The SEC is Georgia and insert name.
yes,
Probably Texas.
So yeah, it's going to be.
Come on, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be Georgia, and then I mean it could literally be anybody, man. I mean it could be Texas, it could be LSU, it could be Ole Miss next year.
Don't you say that.
You know,
Don't
that's
say
it.
Do not.
I mean,
Don't.
this is really the most talented Ole Miss team you've probably ever seen.
Lane Kiffin
Okay.
can't win big games.
Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss is the equivalent of Cowboys. I
But
don't
you
care
know who
what
the
kind
saving
of
grace that program
roster.
is, Nick?
Who?
Who's going to save their season? Yam Banks.
Moving on into
You
DeBoer.
have what is called Van Biasy.
All right, I'll chill.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nick, what are your thoughts?
All right.
the
So
new Alabama?
Kalen DeBoer. Don't get me wrong. At the very beginning, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, that was a good pickup. He's only coached 4 seasons as a D1 head coach. And don't get me wrong, he was 37-9. The whole 102-12 record that Alabama fans are saying they has is bullshit, because close to 70 of those wins were at D3, not D2, D3 at Sioux Falls.
NAI.
So
Fact check.
this is his 5th year going in, and he has gone from Indiana, so Big Ten, as a OC, and then to Washington. And yes, I get that again. He did take them to the national championship and lost, but still. But everybody talking about Michael Penis, him being the one getting all the credit. I don't know if y'all remember, before he got hurt at Indiana, Michael Penis was leading the NCAA in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and was presumed the Heisman until he blew his ACL out at Indiana.
Yeah, that's when it was like
Exactly. So again, I get that. So if you're thinking of DeBoer as an elite, quarterback developer, he's had one quarterback. That was Michael Penis. So 37-9. Okay, not bad. Not bad. It's still good. You're going from the Pac-12, which again, I mean, you can beat up on your Washington State and your Oregon State teams, sure. But going to the SEC is much different. But you're not just going to the SEC. You're going to Alabama. First thing is when every single team, including Vanderbilt, and obviously Alabama's going to suck Vanderbilt, but even Vanderbilt, that coach pregame talking to the Vanderbilt players is, Nick Saban's gone. We have an opportunity. All those, bookings they gave us, it's time to get back. Every single team is doing that. They see an opportunity. And I will tell you right now, 100% DeBoer from the first, again, he when was he hired? 2 days ago?
2 or 3 days ago.
3?
Friday.
Okay, so 3 days ago. DeBoer has been under 3 days and has already succumbed to pressure that the fan base and the players have put on him. His first day did not offer T-Rob, who was, again, should have been the one only sole defensive coordinator at Alabama. And immediately, he didn't sign him. T-Rob goes to Georgia. And now you've got players like Caleb Downs. They've lost, I think, 3 secondary players. Again, they're bench players, but you got to think these bench players are presumed starters now because Terry and Arnold declared for the draft yet? I'm pretty sure he has.
I think he
And
did.
obviously Kool-Aid. And now you've got players like Des Ricks. You've got all these former 5-stars that it was their time. They're coming up. Well, you just let their lead recruiter, T-Rob, go. Well, he goes to Georgia. Immediately, DeBoer is getting backlash from his players. Well, he tries going back to T-Rob and offers him the full position to try and salvage this. And this is not his, again, I personally don't think this was his decision. I think this was him facing backlash. He offers T-Rob, after not offering in the beginning a full only DC versus a co-DC at Georgia, T-Rob declines. And now we're already seeing all these rumors, and Caleb Downs even said it, who again, arguably the best safety as a freshman, is now saying he won't confirm it. He said it's tight right now. I don't know. My future at Alabama is uncertain. And he's probably going to Georgia. You're already seeing DeBoer succumb to pressure because, again, going from Washington to Alabama is night and day. The fan bases, I mean, again, you got to think last year's A-Day game at Washington, there were maybe 15 people in the stands. When he arrives on the plane, you saw the memes, it's like Walking Dead. The fans are ready to greet him. And now you're seeing these players flood out of Alabama. And, something that Alabama has always prided itself on under Nick Saban is the depth. Their depth's gone. at the very least. Their depth is gone between the wide receivers and the corners. Again, they could pick up some transfers from Washington. They can, and they can still salvage it. But at this moment, on January 15th at 7:26, Kalen has done more wrong than good based on how he has succumbed to pressure of the SEC and of his fan base. Because again, how he reacted to, okay, I'm not going to sign T-Rob, and then immediately changing his mind after a day of all the transfers and immediately like saying, hey, T-Rob, I want you to come back. I want you to be the full. And T-Rob's like, nah, I'm good. I'm staying with Kirby. And then you've got more players now, not to mention all the offensive players that are leaving because Tommy Reese just left. And I've had very choice words for Tommy Reese. Tommy Reese was not that great, but he found a way to, obviously mingle with his players and be able to create that relationship. And now that he's gone, you've already seen the Ryan Williams decommit. You've seen Jamie French decommit, who was the top Alabama receiver in 2025 decommit. You've seen Isaiah Bond leave. You've seen Nyblack leave. I mean, it looks like the floodgates right now. And I'm not saying that Alabama won't be a top 5 team in the SEC, but with what Kalen DeBoer has shown already in the first 3 days is just indicating what's to come. And Alabama fans are not going to know what's going to happen when they go 8-4, not even a 9-3, and they lose in a bowl game. If they go 9-4,
that's impressive.
They've already dropped. Oh no, I know. That's what I'm saying is they've already dropped 4 spots in the recruiting ranking.
Yeah, no, I do agree with what you're saying about. I do think a lot of Bama fans are putting too much emphasis on his record. The only thing, I guess, kind of rebuttal to that would be that Washington, when he went to Washington, Jimmy Lake took that plane and drove it straight to the bottom of the lake. Like Washington is kind of like your Auburn, LSU, like not. Well, I guess that wouldn't be a good. Like they used to be a blue bud back in the day, and then they lost their way. Chris Peterson got it going again, and then Jimmy Lake or whatever. I think it's Jimmy Lake was the old guy, Pac-12 dark guy.
Mm-hmm.
Who was Washington's last head coach for DeBoer? Jimmy Lake?
Maybe. I think a good reference to what you're talking about is like USC.
Yes. There you go, Grayson. Kind of like USC, but I think even in USC's decline, they were still better than what Washington was.
Well, for all of our Alabama folks listening to this is the equivalent of like what Nick was talking about going from Washington to Bama. This is the equivalent of going from Theodore High School to Hoover. Like this is, Theodore High School, big high school down in Mobile, Alabama. And, they've got talent. They can get to the playoffs, yada, 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 this, that, and the other. Like they'll have a player come out every once in a while. But now you're at Hoover, who's playing nationally, who plays nationally every year, who's a powerhouse, who had a TV show about them back in
but they've been
2000s.
on the downcline since Josh Niblett left.
That's fair. I guess a better one would be what, Thompson now?
Yeah. Well,
Central Phoenix.
Yeah, too.
I got a prediction for Alabama. Kind of like what I said with Ryan Day, where he took over a huge program and he could ride that success for a few years. I think we're going to have a similar situation where 2 years you're going to see, 11-1, 10-2 kind of thing and still get into the playoffs. Even it's still going to be a decline. How we see Ryan Day going.
The only difference between Ryan Day in this situation is when Ryan Day came aboard, he didn't have a mass exodus of talent. And then that was going to bring
it's Exodus. It's Exodus.
Did you say Exodius?
Bro's about to pull out all 5
Are we
cards.
playing Skyrim right now?
Yeah, bitch.
Exodius?
Exodia. That's you. But
Exodia, obliterate.
anyways, yeah, Ryan Day didn't have a bunch of players transfer out there, but I think that like the whole everybody leaving, I think that was kind of a like they didn't come there to go play for Alabama, they came there to play for Nick Saban, and honestly, more power to them. Like I think like coach, like there's a guy on the local radios. Why should players have all this loyalty and stuff to their schools when their coaches can just peace out whenever they want to? Because there's a lot of, I mean, like you probably seen on Twitter, there's a lot of players going like, a lot of Bama fans have been like, whatever. There's no loyalty, respect to the university. They didn't come there. They didn't go to Alabama to play for Alabama. They came there to play for Nick Saban.
All right. Well, I guess we'll move on from this. But I guess talking about other potential movement for coaches, we talked about Chargers earlier today and them in a coaching search. Well, Nick also made a comment about an interview the Chargers had, and it was with Jim Harbaugh, current University of Michigan coach. So is Harbaugh on the move? And if so, number one, is that a good career move for him? And number two, what does that mean for Michigan? And Kyle, since you were more of a Pac-12 analyst this year, but since you're our Big Ten correspondent, why don't you start this off?
I'll say he lives right next to him.
And below him. Nick, I'm gonna put you in alcoholic anonymous here shortly. Terrible move. Terrible move.
For who, the Chargers or Jim Harbaugh?
Jimmy boy. He
thank you.
He's got a chance to continue that program and have a dynasty. And I know that sounds funny to some people, but he could easily win the Big Ten every year. No problem. Great recruiter.
You don't think Dan Lanning's building something in Eugene?
No, not with their 7th-year veteran gone. No,
that steeple's built. They can't add anything else onto that.
Yeah, I think it's a terrible move by him. Yeah, like I said, he has the opportunity to have a dynasty, and he's throwing it away to go to the Chargers, who have been stuck in the middle, like Pittsburgh, and can't figure it out.
Guess what? We weren't in the middle this year. We were at the bottom. We have the 5th pick of the draft.
What's so bad is the Falcons have the 8th pick. Let's put it in perspective. But I think Johnny Boy is very goal oriented. Like I feel like once he gets something done, he's like
that's his brother, by the way.
I was about to say, yeah, Johnny Boy is currently coaching the Ravens, so I would agree with that.
Jimmy Boy.
Jimbo.
Who cares? Jimbo. But I feel like he's very like, what's next, right? Like he took the 49ers to the Super Bowl, and then was it like how long? That was in
2012.
Yeah.
And then he went to Michigan in 2015, 16.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like now he's just kind of like, all right, I've done that. So what's next? And I think he wants to go back and try to win a Super Bowl now.
Well, and some coaches, we've talked about this before. I don't think it's ever been on record, but like some coaches, the big difference between the NFL and college football is that in the NFL, your organization drafts the players, and there is no recruitment. It's not a matter of getting the most athletic guys or the strongest guys or the fastest guys, because everybody is athletic, strong, and fast in the NFL. There, it's more strategy. It's more what offense and defense do you want to run, the X's and O's. So I feel like Harbaugh as a person is more geared that way. Not saying that he can't recruit, but just seeing how there's a difference between a person like, I don't know, like a guy. I'm trying to think of a good recruiter right off the top of my head right now, a good like college recruiter. Maybe like a Lincoln Riley or somebody like that.
I got breaking news.
Oh,
Okay, so I'm gonna put it in the group me. Somebody asked Mike Tomlin, "Hey, says, hey, you have 1 year left in your contract," and he just looked at her and just walked out the press conference.
no.
God.
Well,
So I guess that answers that. There's a new opening in Pittsburgh.
I spoke that into existence. But going back to what I was saying though is that like I think there's a difference between recruiting the best guys and having Hugh Freeze. I mean Hugh Freeze being a recruiter. Like so there's a difference between someone like that, and then someone that wants to sit down and do X's and O's and watch film and say like we can put this guy here and this is going to benefit it for this game, this one game out of the 17 game season we play, but we're going to do it for this one game. And I think Jim Harbaugh is more geared that way. And I'm not going to say he was looking for an opportunity to get back into the NFL, but honestly, I don't think he's going to turn down the opportunity to, because if he did, well, I was just going to say if he did, I don't feel like he'd be doing an interview right now.
I feel like he has a little bit of Asperger's, doesn't like social interaction, and like you say, he don't want to go out and talk to these young kids. He just want to do strategy, X's and O's.
Yeah.
Asperger's.
All right. Are you ready for my hot take?
Yes.
Jim Harbaugh and Dabo Swinney are the same person.
Really?
Yeah. It took Dabo 10 years to win a national championship. Took Jim 8 years. Yes, I get that they went to the Super Bowl. That's the difference. But with Trailblazer Colin Kaepernick, who knows? But Jim is a good recruiter that is recruiting off the success that the team has had. And Michigan, during his tenure, until recently, until the last 3 years, they've still been able to recruit off success, saying like, "Hey, we're beating up on Purdue, we're beating up on Indiana, we're finishing 10-2. We just can't get over the hump without Ohio State. Well, hey, you come, maybe we have a chance." And then bam, all of a sudden, yeah, they're 3 over Ohio State in the last 3 years. But now with the sanctions that could possibly, because again, they reopened the investigation, and it's very possible they get hit with sanctions. With them investigating him, and the fact that Grayson made a really good point is, if he was so committed, why would he take other interviews? Because again, if you really think about what an interview is, it's an employer interviewing somebody that wants the job. Why would he accept an interview if he didn't want the job? If he's offered the job, why would he decline? Why would he take the interview in the first place? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the question. It's like, okay, if you're offered, are you going to take it and get back into the NFL with Justin Herbert, with Keenan Allen, with, again, I get my bias here, but I don't care who's offered. With the roster that the Chargers have, I would argue that I would take that NFL job over a lot of other NFL jobs just based on the roster alone.
So I feel like the only way that he does not get the job is if for some reason the Chargers want to promote from within and hire Kellen Moore. I feel like that's the only way. Yeah, I feel like that's the only way. And unless, because we kind of get how the interview process works in the NFL, right? It's a lot of times it's a formality thing, right? But there are times when there are several candidates in the pool for the entirety of the interview process. Sometimes first rounds are out, like, and you're down to one person. But a majority of the time, sometimes it's like you got several people. So I feel like unless they go with like that process and say we're going to interview 3 people keep them all the entire time and go from there. The only way he does not go through this interview process and not be the coach, I don't think he will turn it down. I think it will be because he doesn't get offered. That is what I'm saying. And for some reason, like I said, they go with Kellen Moore, then I feel like that's the only way they promote internally too. So, yeah. So that's kind of my take on the whole Jim Harbaugh scenario.
We've done full circle back to NFL now.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see.
There's a wax in that ass.
What?
I said the Bucks are waxing that ass right now.
I know.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
No, that's it. I'm just saying. Bottle's gone.
Shit. All right. Well, now it's time for our uncivil debate. Since Nick has finished.
God, I forgot.
Yeah. So, way too early college football championship game predictions for next year.
I forgot about that.
We're gonna do it real quick because I feel like a lot of our answers are going to be somewhat the same. I will start first. I think with how this season is lining up, I think it's going to be Georgia and insert team name here. But give me not just in the SEC championship game, is going to be in the college football championship too. But give me Georgia and give me man, I don't want to say Michigan because I think Harbaugh's gone. I don't want to say Ohio State. I'm not going to say Bama. I'm not going to say Washington. Honestly, give me Georgia and Oregon. I think somehow Oregon finds a way to get back in this year. I mean, who else? Is it going to be Florida State? Maybe. Give me Georgia, Oregon. I'm getting a phone call.
I'll go next. I'm going to say Alabama and Ole Miss.
Alabama, huh?
No, I'm just kidding, y'all. Michigan, Texas.
Even with the rumors with Jim?
Yeah. The talent. And in my opinion, if Jim goes, their offensive coordinator takes the job and the players love the offensive coordinator. I don't know his name, to be honest with you, but the guy that was the interim coach during his 3 games he was out.
Imposed 3-game suspension.
Yeah. I think if he becomes a head coach, that the players, you won't see fallout like Alabama. And in my opinion, I mean, I would say the same as Georgia and Texas. So I think that's equal because again, I mean, the only reason I would say Georgia not being in is the same reason I could say any team's not being in, is that 12-man playoff gives more chances for a slip up. But again, I mean, I'd say your 3 teams right there: Georgia, Michigan, Texas. Your 3 teams to beat.
Ready for in my own fashion, I'm taking the first group of 5 team to make national.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Give me Ole Miss and Ohio State.
Woo.
I wanted to go South Alabama, but the way you looked at me just for I said that, I think you're right. Me.
It's not the Geo to the promised land. Yeah.
Well, I got 14. Tell me it can't happen in real life. It happened in a video game.
Is that what yours looks like? The one you're playing right now?
I was so shook when I saw Arkansas State 4, South 3. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, I thought that was like a conference championship right there.
Give me.
I do think this.
Yeah, you, Kyle.
It's gonna piss you. It's gonna piss you off. So.
To me.
No, it's gonna piss Nick off. So.
I mean, I do think this is Ole Miss is probably best chance ever to win a national championship.
Well, that's the thing. They've got a great transfer class, but they have a horrible recruiting class compared to the SEC.
I mean, yeah.
So
built for long term, built for right now.
Exactly. No, I agree with you on that.
Give
Yeah,
me,
me too.
Say go ahead and say Wisconsin.
give me Ohio State
Wrong.
and Missouri. And Missouri.
Wrong. Damn.
What the?
Wow.
Oh my god!
Missouri.
Missouri.
The defensive coordinator lists Missouri.
Yes.
Eli Drinkowitz.
Elijah.
I think
Let's
Missouri.
pass land.
I think
What is
Missouri
your
builds.
logic?
I think Missouri builds off this year. Picks up. I think they find a great defensive coordinator.
Who
And
the hell are they going to play on offense?
I mean,
Hey,
yeah,
man.
don't place my quarterback.
Who?
hey, man,
Who?
that's my pick.
Mm.
I thought I was going to be one out of pocket pick. No calls.
Hold on.
Trevor's wrong again.
Hold on.
Their schedule is in a kind of a good favor for them. They play Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, UMass, Auburn, Alabama, which
Moss.
you know,
You Moss, I get hard, I edge. I'm Kyle.
Oklahoma, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. They have a very favorable schedule to get a high seed and a bye week.
I'm writing these down now. I wasn't gonna write them down, but now I'm writing them down.
You're right.
I would say that
Who'd you get, BB? Who'd you pick?
I picked Ole Miss and Ohio State.
Okay. And then Nick, who was yours? You said Texas and
I said Alabama, Ole Miss.
I heard that. No, Texas, Michigan, right?
Texas,
yeah.
Michigan.
Yeah. But no, there's no I know that was wrong because you're never gonna pick Ole Miss to especially with Lane Kiffin there.
Like I said, they'll probably get that 12th or 11th spot. Congrats.
All right. Well, I think that ends episode 19 of the JEB Board Podcast. Yeah.
and by the way, Missouri's quarterback is coming back next year. So
Holy Cook.
Yeah, and you know what? And he played great this year. Screw
Not
you.
good enough. Didn't beat Georgia.
Luther Burden played great.
I'm not
That's
surprised he
it.
hasn't transferred yet.
Hey. Hi.
Hey. At least I didn't fit Texas. God. You know what? I can't wait for next year.
Do it, Kyle. Go ahead and say it. It's
Yeah.
part of the unsealable.
Texas is the biggest choke artist every goddamn year, and y'all just never listen. But they are the biggest choke artists in college football.
I disagree because that would be Ole Miss.
and Penn State.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're done. JEB Board episode 19 is done.
I've got tomorrow off, so I can edit it as long as I need.
Beautiful.
Let's get this going.
Yeah.
The shortest podcast ever. It's edited out an hour's worth of content.
Okay. That ends episode 19 of the JEB Board Podcast. Go listen to us on all these platforms and YouTube, and go check us out on Twitter because we actually pump out some pretty funny shit out there. Until next time, casuals.